Thank you for joining us. This is Live with Miami's Community News, and our guest today is the Papa Keith Walcott. Thank you for joining us.
No, thank you. Listen, it's a pleasure, Mr. Miller. You have a name, a street named after you. That's how great you are.
But not the beer.
Not the beer. Well,
we missed
street,
that one.
The street coming to the studio is named after you.
So you've been a household word for years, all right? You've been in radio, and you're running for the city of Miramar.
Commissioner, yes.
We're going to put that aside.
Yes, no problem.
It's the things that you've been doing in the community help give you that information that you need to be able to get there. So let's talk about your beginning of radio, because it's a neat story. So tell us that. First of all, why did you think you wanted to be in radio? And that lady dragged your butt down there and sat you down. Tell us about that.
Well, it was a young lady by the name of Darnella Dunham who really kind of sparked the life of radio inside of me. She was already working for WEDR at the time. And, I was already an entertainer, working as a DJ and a host, but it doesn't pay well, and it's no insurance, being a DJ and a host. And I started a family, so I really wanted to have an opportunity to do something that I loved, but something that'll pay some insurance and, stuff like that. So she invited me to come to the radio station and experience it. And when I did, I just lit up. I just lit up.
How long was it when you walked in the door? How long before you said, oh, this is looking pretty good?
Yeah, like instantly. So anything that I do, I try my best to take it seriously, because I respect, others who were there before me. So I don't expect to just take my talent and be like, hey, I'm amazing, let me in.
The story is that you sat there for 2 months.
Yes. So
tell us about that.
Right. So I'm going to get into that. So I went to Miami Lakes Tech and took their radio broadcasting course. I did it in less than a year. And it was down on the way from the school to my home was WEDR. So after school, I would stop off by EDR.
Was that on 36th Street then, or something
Yes, it was off of the Palmetto at that time.
Yeah.
So I would go and I would stay in the lobby area and say,
just
hey,
hanging out.
Yeah, just hanging out. Can I see the PD? No, you can't see him. But everyone walked through the front door. So I would get to meet the staff.
Well,
and
wait,
different
you were
people.
just hanging out. Did somebody say, hey, you lost, or what?
Well, at first, but then after a while, and they knew my intention was to get on the radio, they kind of accepted me. So I was just in the lobby, for 2 months. I would come by almost every other day, but then I built relationships. I knew, like, at that time, the afternoon personality, Terry Alexander, he liked cigarettes. So I would get his brand of cigarettes. This was like 30 years ago, so I must have been like 28 or something like that.
Sort of old to be doing that. Usually it's a 16-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Mom, I'm hanging around here.
Right. Well, I started late, when I discovered how much I really enjoyed radio. And then I would bring, like, the receptionist food, and I would just do stuff like that until finally it was in 1999. And 99 Jams had their top 99 songs of the year. We didn't have the digital stuff that we have now, so we actually had to pull the CDs from a rack and line them up. So they eventually invited me in to pull those CDs so that we could play the top 99 songs.
Were you getting paid at that point?
No, I wasn't, sir.
Okay. Right.
I wasn't. So I never left from that moment, started working as an intern, then started working in the promo department, where I was able to get a paycheck at that point.
There's a great story about Les Brown. He tells the story, and I hear it every so often. He said, you know how I got into radio? I was dirt poor. I went down to that radio station. I think it was WEDR.
Okay.
Right? And he goes down there, we don't have any work for you. Go away. And Les kept going back.
Yeah.
Finally, one day, the manager says, oh, get me a cup of coffee, boy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Gets a coffee. He's there. Now he's starting to clean up the place. And one day, the general manager says, listen, so-and-so, the DJ, he's late. Call him up and tell him to get down here.
That's it.
He said, he calls his mama. Mama, turn on the radio, because your baby boy, Les Brown, is going to be on the radio.
But that's really how it worked. Like, in order to get a radio job, think about it. Radio is not like a plumber or a mechanic where there's hundreds of jobs. They're like 6. depending on the genre, that you're going into, there's only 6 jobs available. So like you literally have to wait for somebody to retire or unfortunately die in order to get a position. So he's absolutely right. And that's how it happened for me as well. If someone shows up late or misses a day, calls out sick, then it becomes your new opportunity, on radio. And then if they like what they hear, you stick around.
By the way, unless it was asked by the gentleman, did you call him? Yes, sir, I sure did.
That's a great story.
which we know, of course, that he didn't. So you've spent many years giving back to the community,
Yes.
working with people and working with kids and teenagers and families.
Yes.
So tell us about what inspires you to do that.
Well, I must be honest. I'm extremely transparent. Initially, when I went, I wanted to make this into a living for myself. And then it was really a couple friends of mine. Like, so the stuff I would do it just as my natural job as a radio person. Like, hey, would you go talk to that school? Would you do this? Sure, no problem. Sure, no problem. But when I really developed the love for community and really developed that advocacy is about 10 years ago when 2 of my friends, back to back, 2 different days, said to me, listen, you're making money, you're doing good on the radio. What's your legacy going to be? And when they said that to me, just something sparked, inside of me, and my thing has always been people, it's always been people. The key word for me is people. Like I put people before myself. I'm a public servant. My festival's called People Matter Fest. So everything about me was about the people. And then that's when I quickly realized that that's where I need to put my energy. That's where my legacy is going to lie, in doing for the people.
What does it feel like when you're doing what you love doing and then you realize that somebody was really significantly helped or appreciated? What's that like for you inside?
Oh man, there's no better feeling in the world, for me at least. It really feels great, and it causes me to become relentless, because that feeling is like it's just like a high that that you don't come off of, and then the more that you do it just keeps you up there.
So there's many talks about giving, and some people do it anonymously, some people do it publicly, and there are lots of different ways to do it. When Hurricane Andrew destroyed our home and people started sending us stuff, the house was destroyed, and we're talking about money and toiletries and food. And I said to my wife, what did we ever do to deserve this? And it's like, so that was 30 years ago. The other day I'm walking through the building, and I said, what did we ever do to deserve this?
Wow.
And the awareness, and my answer, by the way, was because you're a good person.
Right.
And when you start to realize that, and the things that you do can help somebody else, and most of the time you're not even aware of it, but you get it inside.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure you've had a lot of people help you along your way.
Of course.
All right. So why don't you, if you're interested, right, would you like to mention some of them?
Absolutely. Darnella Dunham, who got me into radio, Jerry Russian, Cedric Hollywood for giving me the opportunity to be on radio, nurturing me, Terry Alexander, who I interned with, Shelby Russian. These are all people instrumental. Some of my good friends, Ricardo Chung and Kevin Chung, who welcomed me into Miramar 32 years ago. I want to thank them as well. We played music together. They opened up their home to me and gave me so many opportunities. Another guy named Joseph Buttafuoco, who opened up an underground radio station, which was my first opportunity.
He's not related to the guy up in New Jersey.
No, Buttafuoco is his nickname. I think that's where he got his name. But he opened up the underground station that I quickly became famous on, called Mix 96. And and there was a lot of other people along the way, but notably those people definitely sparked it.
And why do you want to become an elected official in the city of Miramar?
It's an easy but complicated question, in the sense of I was living and continue to live a very nice life as a radio personality, but the frustrations that I would have every 2 to 4 years doing different things around different cities. Because remember, as a radio personality, I'm serving Tri-County, right?
Yes.
So I'm serving Miami, Broward, West Palm Beach, and working with all the different municipalities to bring programming and to bring events there. It would become very frustrating every 2 to 4 years, where we have the changing of the guards, whether it's a commissioner or a mayor, and then I have to start all over again. And when you're dealing with programming, especially when it comes to kids and youth, consistency is the key, especially for them. You know, you don't want to take things away. You don't want to adjust it too much. You want them to know it's going to be there, know what they're going to get, and then they develop that trust. So it became frustrating over the 10-year period of having to deal with different commissioners, different mayors, as I grew my festival, as I grew my programming with my nonprofit, as I did different things for different municipalities and partnered with them with the radio station. And someone said, listen, if you really want to make the change that you're looking to make with the legacy that you're trying to leave behind, you're going to have to do it from within. And it's going to have to be done with policy and programming. Mm-hmm. So what better place than my hometown, a place that I've had over a 32-year relationship with, than the city of Miramar. Literally watch the city grow right in front of my eyes, played so many roles in the development and different aspects of being within the city, that here I am now, 30-something years later, wanting to do it on this level.
So your folks said, we're moving to Miramar. You're a little kid, and they're going, we're going to Miramar. How did that occur?
Well, I actually came to Miramar as an adult. When I first came down here to South Florida, my parents had divorced. This was back in '84. No, this was back in '84. My parents divorced. I went to North Miami Beach with my mom, and I went to JFK for 2 years, and then I went to NMB for like half a year.
Maybe.
At the time, I thought South Florida was too slow for me. For being a New Yorker, you know, I was born in Brooklyn, New York. So I went back to New York, and then I realized, I think I like it better.
Especially like December, January.
Right. You know, I think I like it better in South Florida. I think I had better opportunity there. So I stayed in New York for a couple of years, and then I came back in 91, 92, and that's when I settled in Miramar, in Meadows of Miramar to be exact. At that time, Meadows of Miramar was just before 47th Avenue, mm-hmm. which we call Palm in Miramar, and there was nothing west of that. There was no developments. It was all cow pastures.
So when I go up to Miramar, every month or so I go up there, I look at what Miami-Dade County could have been. All right?
Right.
And they, when the developers up there, must have looked at us down there. We ain't making that mistake, right? Up there, beautiful development.
Yes.
Big roads.
Yes.
Beautiful. You got a gorgeous city hall. Oh my goodness, yeah. It's so gorgeous, all right? And very effective staff that's up there, mm-hmm. and people are friendly. Not friendlier than here. They're friendly, and it's easier to get lost for me up there. So I'm still trying to figure out that Google Maps thing. Right? So there you are, Miramar. You're in there. You're making a big difference. Is this the first time you're running for office?
Yes, sir.
So what is it like when that you're saying, oh, I got to go get somebody to push the button with my name on it? What is that like for you?
Well, I'll tell you what I like and what I don't like. I'll start with what I like. I like the fact that I get to knock on doors and actually meet the residents and hear what they have to say. I've always found that most politicians, and I don't want to be called a politician, just for the record. I'd rather be called public servant, Keith Walcott, Papa Keith. Don't call me a politician. But I noticed they would talk for the people, like assume what the people want. I'm coming here to fix this and to do this and to do that. And I would always question, like, well, have you found out? Because half of the stuff you're saying doesn't connect with me. It just seems like the popular things to say, like affordable housing and certain things, which some of them are true.
Yes.
So knocking on the doors, creating town halls, doing events where you're inviting people to come, that really does it. It's community. So actually hearing from the people what they want. And then in Miramar, it's an interesting dynamics. Miramar is almost split up in two halves. There's West Miramar and there's East Miramar. And they're completely different with completely different needs and wants and desires.
What's the older part? Which part is older?
That's East, historic Miramar.
And so
that's from 441 to like University is considered historic Miramar. It's not really a thing, but I call it Central Miramar now. It's from University to like maybe Red Road, and then from Red Road, 57th Avenue, all the way to the 27th is West Miramar.
And so if you could, what's the primary difference that you can see with the feeling that you're getting? But in your district, there's District 3?
Well, it's a seat.
It's
so
a seat.
Miramar's at large.
At large, okay.
Right.
So when you're knocking on the doors east and then you go west.
Yes.
So what is it you hear from the people?
Right. So for instance, when you talk to people in the West, they technically don't come out to vote. And so I'm trying to convince them to come out to vote. And
it's the newer people.
Well, I wouldn't say so much the newer people. It's mostly people in gated communities. So when you're living in a gated community, you would find that those people are less interested in getting involved with local politics because if they have any issues, they go to their association and they don't really have to deal with the city directly. The most things that they will complain about is the water bill and the traffic out west, which both are issues for sure.
Welcome to South Florida.
Whereas out in the east, it's not. It's mostly open, no gated communities there, so they have different concerns.
That's interesting. Mm-hmm. And by virtue that the people went into a gated community, that's something that they're looking for, to have this womb around them. That's interesting.
Right. So they don't get involved with local politics because of that. But you'll find the people in the east who don't have gated communities, they do, because they depend on the city of Miramar for so much more than the people out west do.
So what are some of the things that you would like to bring to the table to have a discussion with hopefully your colleagues then?
Listen, I think that Miramar is so diverse, and I would love to see the dais reflect that. And it doesn't have to necessarily reflect it based on color per se. I'm open to that. But just in terms of attitude and connection with the community. And I don't see that right now, and I would love to be a part of that change. So although, my skin color is black, being a radio personality for all these years, I've been able to connect with so many other cultures and so many other races based on music, based on community. Like, I don't limit what I do in the community to just the black community. When I serve everyone, So that's what I'm looking forward to in the city of Miramar, to be able to serve everyone in that position.
And we touched on this a little earlier. We know that first responders have traditionally a higher need for mental health care.
Yes.
Right? And we see it all the time, all right? And first responders, that can be your teacher who's getting whacked, and you got people in the medical arena, you have the firemen who are always loved, all right?
Always.
The cops are only loved part of the time.
Right.
When you need them, you love them. Otherwise, you stay away. So that must play havoc on their brains, all right? And as you know, down here a year and a half ago, our director back then had a bad moment, and he pulled out a gun, and he shot himself, all right? Or he was shot. And so here was this big, nice-looking guy, muscles, climbing that ladder, right? And all of a sudden, we realized that we're all pretty close to, like, feeling the doldrums. And so one of the things that I hope that, for the city is that maybe you can bring a conversation about providing gateways for people to get mental health care, whether it's if you will, like the county has a 311. If somebody has a problem, maybe the city is going to be able to direct it and to catch these people before they do stupid things, because it only takes a second to ruin your family's life, right? And suicide is awfully selfish, right? But I want people to remember, you got a whole family out there that's cheering for you. So I hope that you can bring up some issues there, and being able to put aside some energy and let people know that the city and its commissioners are there, for them.
Well, that's funny you brought that up. I just want to expound on something real quick with that. I did have a conversation actually with the Miramar Fire Union and the police as well. They both chose to endorse me, and I'm very grateful for that. But we had that conversation, because they asked me about that, so I went into detail about the trauma that they have to deal with just on a normal basis, the things that they see and what do they do with that, You have to now take that home to your family. Do you have to bottle that in? So we had those different conversations about, having therapy for them, making sure they have enough PTO and things of that nature, because, they deal with this on a daily basis.
I just can't manage what it may be like when a policeman pulls over a car, wondering, that guy's got a gun.
Yeah.
Or his passenger does. Or maybe not that car, but maybe the next one. And so I just can't fathom what what does to your psyche to be able to maintain some semblance. So what are some programs that you would like to bring to the conversation with your colleagues?
So a lot of times I think we can find ways to like kill two birds with one stone, right? Where we can find a program that helps actually two groups at the same time. But we just got to open up our eyes to see it. So because I choose to advocate for the youth, I want the seniors to also know how that helps them, right? So youth don't vote. That's what we know. So unfortunately, when people who are politicians and not public servants, they won't cater, they won't have programs for them because they're not concerned. They will focus on making sure that they have programs for the seniors because they know the seniors are the highest voting bloc. But we can create a level of balance as well. To me, I think we need to have programs, and I'm going to implement programs for our teenagers. Mm-hmm. Because they're at a very vital place in their lives where they can go in any direction. And as long as we allow the phones to control them, you're going to have problems. It could be as simple as opening up a basketball court on a Friday night, giving them an option of something to do instead of pulling on car door handles of some of our seniors to see if they left their car door open to take out and rummage through their stuff, or breaking into homes. Most of the crime that's happening is coming from, our youth under 25 years of age. So we need to create some programming to give them some other options so they're not constantly idle and then watching their phones, getting a false reality of how life really works,
mm-hmm. So that's a tough road. So I'm glad you're going to try to take that on. In Miami-Dade County, we have about 100,000 septic tanks, and the county's trying to do something with that. We also have a waste-to-energy facility that is not going in, and I'm glad that Miramar expressed its views, all right, yes, or whatever they happen to be. But all in Miramar, in the new housing, those are all hooked up to septic. Do I have that correct?
No. Well, so it's a little different. It goes, again, the east side has a completely different situation from the west side. I thought you were going to get into the incinerator.
Well, I will if you like.
I thought that was the direction you were going into.
I want to take care of the other stuff.
Right. So as our issue is with the water. And from my understanding, it's the pressure of the water that is really the issue. So they built some houses out in the west with some very cheap pipes that are now not legal to use. But that's what they were built with back then. And unfortunately, with the pressure from the water hitting those pipes, people are having pipes burst and having to redo the piping in their homes because of this. So that's a major issue, right? And I know, it's something that people don't want to talk about, but it's a reality from a lot of the residents right now who have to deal with that, who are already on a fixed income or already spending enough money or going through their own struggles. And now on top of that, pipes bursting in their homes or outside of their homes, on their lawns, flooding. So that's something we definitely have to tackle and figure out.
So let's talk about the incinerator.
Yes, sir.
So Miami-Dade County was going to put the incinerator, they were thoughts about putting it back into Doral, right?
Where it should be, but hey.
And I personally come from the place, if you buy a house near the airport, expect there to be planes there.
Right.
And all those people that bought there, okay, so it burnt down. And so recently the county said, okay, we're not going to do that. Miramar expressed its views, said if you put it up near us, we're going to file suit and delay it. Mm-hmm. So what Miami-Dade County did at this point, as of February 2025, they're going to keep shipping it out of here and put it in somebody else's backyard.
Yes.
Which brings up this big global picture about what do we do with our stuff that's left over?
Well, there was I'm not saying Miami specifically, but I know they were sending a lot of our stuff to China. And I think they were taking a lot of the copper and metal and stuff like that. And that's a whole nother thing within itself. But hey, listen, if that's what they have to do with it right now, I'm okay with that versus, an incinerator coming to Miramar.
So what does happen to the recycled stuff and the garbage in the city of Miramar?
I would love to know that myself. And not even just the city of Miramar. For all of Florida, do you know there's not one recycle recycling station or facility in the state of Florida. So
I wouldn't be the one to say that the recycling programs in South Florida are abject failures. All right.
Yes.
City of Miami claims it's 70% failed, and Dade County says it's 30 to 40. I suspect it's a lot higher.
Right. I'm sure if you go to the landfills, you're going to see some plastic out there.
We have among the worst level of education and communication about what to recycle.
Yes.
Right. And what I found out is that each of the areas that have recycling programs, it's the vendors that set the tone, because if they don't want plastic, they don't take it. So that goes into the ground.
Right.
So it's a crazy world. And I met with Ken Russell, former City of Miami commissioner. He came on the air, and he's working with some folks. Nope, not on planet Earth, right? So he's out trying to beat the drums. Don't put it in the ground either. Interesting that happened, which was, if a third is food and landscaping, don't put it in the ground. Figure out some other thing to do with it. After all these conversations over a period of a year, my wife, she went out and she bought a composter for the house. It's the size of an air filter, does not smell at all. You put your foods in it, and it chews it up and dehydrates it, right? And then you take it and you put it in your garden. Incredible, right there. And it was like, because she got so frustrated with me saying, what do we do with all this stuff?
Right, because it was confusing.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it was very confusing.
So people up north, like here, they talk about traffic. They talk now about water out west.
Mm-hmm.
We have job opportunities, price of housing.
Yes.
Sea change.
Yes.
Floods.
Yes.
Got all this stuff up there too?
Yes, we do.
All right. And do you have it like Brickell Avenue does?
No, nothing
That's why
like
we have
Brickell.
trucks that go down there on a rainy Sunday.
No, nothing like Brickell. Thank goodness.
So here we are. When's the election?
Election is Tuesday, March 11th.
Around
March 11th.
What's your number?
Seat number 3.
That is around the corner.
Yes, it is.
Right? And
3 weeks from today.
It's and there's going to be absentee ballots. You have that up there?
Yeah, so you can turn in your absentee ballots up until February 27th. There's no early voting, so it's either absentee ballot or you
walk in.
You got to walk into the precinct.
There's locations throughout the county.
Yes.
Or of course at City Hall.
Yes.
Right, a beautiful City Hall.
The library. Yes.
The library.
Mm-hmm.
The complex up there is gorgeous.
It is,
and it's a big courtyard out front.
Yep.
And it's really
you got to come for one of the Zuma classes.
Yeah,
they do out there.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah, they're doing it, baby.
See, listen, you get warmed up. Let's go.
And it's sort of a town square right there.
Yes,
and
there
people
is.
can go out there and you can talk out there, and it's really
restaurants, businesses. My favorite pizza shop is there.
So. Before we wrap up, we got a couple of minutes. Sure. What would you like to get done as far as helping people connect with each other?
Well, I think we do a lot of events in the city of Miramar, but I think the events could be a little bit more diverse in terms of how we bring people together, to your point. And I have the experience of bringing people together, with my job on the radio and the different events that I've done in the past. So I'm really excited to bring all of that. All of the connections that I have, all the network that I have, all of the ideas that I have to the city of Miramar. And that's kind of like what I'm explaining to people as I speak to them. I'm saying I'm taking over 30 years of knowledge and experience tri-county wide, and now I get to, bring this to my hometown and try to make things better there, So I think we could do a lot more diverse events and be more inclusive and just finding out actually what the people want. And I'm big on that, not assuming, but actually talking to the people and finding out, taking polls to see who they'd like to see or how we could bring them together,
So I was speaking to some folks with the SEED school, that's SEED,
yes.
And they select 5th and 6th graders, and they spend the night at the school, and on the weekends they go home, and they work with these kids. Not just through elementary school, to high school, through college. And they start talking to them about college when they're very young, so they got that in their brain, they're going to be able to do that. And they help them get all the way through. And I sense with the things you're trying to get done is to have that follow through with these people so they can get excited and they're going to go back. What was that guy's name? Papa something or other. And that team, that city down there, I forget the name of it, but it was down there, right? So my brother, I wish you lots of luck with this.
Thank you.
If people want to find out more about you, they can find your website, or you just go look up Papa Keith, right?
Well, you can do both. You can do both, but my website for my campaign is PK4Miramar.com. That's PK4Miramar.com. Thank you so much to your producer.
That's Alex. Oh, look at that.
Alex got the lower third down there. Thank you so much. You can go there for more information, or you can call me. And I don't know if Alex can get my number on there, but I'll give it to you.
All right, let's hear it.
It's 754-295-9554. So that's 754-295-9554. You can call or text me, and I'll be happy to speak with you.
And we're going to wrap up with you've been on radio how long?
Over 30 years.
That's sort of a record down here, isn't it?
It might be, but I think Shelby Russian has got me beat a little bit. If I include my underground radio, I'll probably beat her, but So
that really says something about your skill and about your ability to get along with people.
Thank you. I appreciate that, sir.
And if people want to find out, they go to your website, or they can call you, or you can listen to some of your shows so you get the personality.
Well, I'm off the air right now because of the campaign and the whole FCC equal time. So, but I'll be back the day after the campaign.
I'm happy to say you can find his YouTube stuff all over the place. Keith, thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
The man with the street named after him, Mr. Miller.
Again, folks, thanks for joining us. Remember, take care of yourselves and your family.